Hi everyone, it is Wick here, and let's go over the stock market. Okay, in particular, we're going to go over the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. Okay, so looking at this is the daily chart of the S&P 500. We'll start left to right. You can see that we have a double topping setup here, which is two setups of topping signals that signal a double top. Okay, you can see that this one was confirmed, meaning that the second bar, even the first bar after the T closed below the wick, confirms that topping signal, and we go into stage 4 downtrend. Okay, you know I talk about this, but also to go into stage 4 downtrend, a lot of times we need that shaded squeeze, which is bent up volatility, in order to push us further and extend and start that new trend. Okay, so again, a lot of times we look for these for big moves ahead. So double top, both shadings, big move afterwards, stage 4 downtrend. Very rarely we see a V-shaped recovery. It's exactly what we saw here. You can see that the dots started green right over here as we gapped up. That is your soonest indication, letting you know that the trend has changed on a micro scale. Okay, again, the soonest signal that we're going bullish on the trend. We also saw the phantom indicator below here switch to bullish. You can see I've circled it in yellow at the same time that we printed our second green dot, and that extended into a stage 2 breakout over here, breaking above this resistance. Again, this is a stage 2 uptrend breaking above this resistance zone, and that's currently what we're in. We try to retest that breakout area. We weren't even weak enough to test it, showing you a very strong trend, and again, standing higher and now gapping up again into all-time highs. The stock market is looking very, very bullish from the chart. It gets a 10 out of 10 for me, even though it's going against a backdrop in macro. We won't get into that, but they're not aligned, of course, but again, you can't argue with the charts that are in stage 2 uptrend. Switching now to the Nasdaq. I like to play the Nasdaq instead of the S&P 500 because for me as a trader, it's a higher beta asset, which means that it has more volatility, which is what I look for. Okay, bigger moves once you get the same setups. A lot of times in the S&P and the Nasdaq, you'll get a setup on both at the same time. Here's a bottom signal on the 4-hour chart. I am playing this setup, not exactly the bottom. I didn't catch this, but I did catch the gap up here above this resistance. All right, so we had a confirmed bottom, gap up here into stage 2, and as you can see, once we go into that parabolic leg, the green dots hold the entire time, and they're still holding as we break out here. But again, another lesson, we needed that squeeze shading here to get past that resistance. Okay, so always know that a lot of times we need that extra bent up volatility, which is basically a rest, in order to really extend a breakout. All right, so that's what we're doing. Again, gapping up on the Nasdaq as well. Now, when these green dots end, will be your first signal on a parabolic extension like this, right, which is a super trend. So once those dots stop, letting you know that on a micro scale, the trend is changing, that's your soonest signal that this whole dynamic might be having some problems, okay? But how I actually manage my long positions, is I use the alpha stops. So you can see I got in here on the gap up. I started the stops from the confirmation of the bottom signal here, and these blue dots are basically a stop loss that I created specifically for these bottoms, and this is where I set my stop loss placement, and I changed it about every 3 or 4 dots, and currently here is where the stop is, right below the upper end of the channel. Okay, so guys, uber bullish on stocks. It gets a 10 out of 10 again for me. If you want these indicators, it is the Alpha Volt, and you can grab it at tradingalpha.io. I think that sale is still going on. It's 20 off would be the discount code. You can use it during checkout. And with that said, guys, stay bullish, and I'll catch you here soon on the next chart. Cheers.